Welcome, everyone, to the completely unnecessary podcast Super Show.
Super.
Tuesday, June 18th, 2024. Almost summer. Alongside, almost clean shaven by his standards, Ian Ferguson. I'm in need of a haircut, Pat Contry. On the show today, we'll be discussing the new breaking news for the Nintendo Direct. We'll be discussing the government suing Adobe, which everyone's in favor of at this point.
Yep, absolutely.
So that's breaking news. Evercade Alpha, an updated Intellivision roadmap, an NWC NES kart project shut down by Nintendo, and the new Game Boy Mod Retro product. We'll be talking about that. Ian, what was that smirk? Did you enjoy the NBA Finals, Ian?
No, because I don't like the Mavs and I don't like the Celtics, but I dislike the Mavs more than I dislike the Celtics. So all in all, it was, it wrapped up okay.
I don't dislike this version of the Celtics. I like Tatum and Brown.
In general, the Celtics are not a team that I've ever rooted for. Yes, I like some of the people on there for sure.
I like old Al Horford. I like Drew Holiday.
But I don't know. I've just always considered the Celtics a rival team. They're not my team, and they're usually pretty good. So
rival to who though? They're rival.
Well, no, I mean like they're usually pretty good, and I don't like them because I don't want to ever have to go up against them, no matter what the team is.
Oh, okay. I mean, they're traditionally the Lakers rival. Mm-hmm. But so there was they're good. They've been good the past 6 years, but there was 10 years in between that they weren't good, just about.
True.
And they sucked all in the 90s and 2000s until the late 2000s, until they went to the finals a couple times and won one.
Yeah, the 90s was definitely not a great.
Oh no,
a great period.
Bird had to retire pretty early because of his back.
Yep.
Bird, I mean, buddy, I know you like your mom. You got to hire a contractor to redo her driveway. You should have been doing that. The best basketball player on the planet, or one of them, shouldn't be doing that sort of manual labor. So yeah, we got robbed at least a few more years of Bird, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean on the Dream Team in '92, he was laying down on the sideline. He couldn't even sit.
Yeah, his
back was just fucking done at that point, and he was retired after that. What was I talking about?
You weren't. Not yet.
I went to Glorious SoCal Gaming Expo the weekend of it was at 9th and 10th, 8th and 9th. I was there. Had a great time. Everyone asking two things: where's Ian, and where's the N64 book? I could say that I guess, is there an alarm on here somewhere? I guess we can say it. N64 book is ready for print.
Woo!
That's the good news.
Ow! Ow! Congrats.
Thank you, Ian. After almost 4 years from the planning, I started planning it 4 years ago. Basically, pandemic until now.
I was going to say it was pandemic.
Pandemic era project. I got another one that's brewing as well, but this one you're going to see a lot earlier than that. So thanks everyone. So I'll have a more finalized release date. Probably they know more once it actually gets all produced and shipped over. But we're looking at late summer for that. So my estimates of August are probably going to be off, but not 6 or 9 months off like the first project was. So I'm getting better. I'm getting better at knowing when I should do the release date here. I'm getting a little bit better as you go. But we also have big news, Ian.
Big news.
Nintendo Direct.
That's right.
Out this morning.
Yeah. So this was. While this Nintendo Direct did not excite me in the way some previous ones have, this is a really solid Direct to kind of, I think, wrap up or round out the Switch. Because they already said that, earlier in the year that they weren't going to be talking about the Switch 2 or whatever the successor is called. And I would say, I'm going to guess Switch, the successor, is probably released first quarter next year.
You don't think there's a chance for the winter? Or for December? No,
I wouldn't be overly surprised if it happened, but I think it's more likely that it will be first quarter of next year.
Yeah, I think for the amount of new and interesting games that they've added, it's like, yeah, maybe
I think that's
there's a little
what
more
the holiday focus is going to be, especially
Yeah.
with well, and we'll get to it, but Metroid Prime isn't even slated until 2005 or 2025. Jesus,
2005. That's a good year. for me.
And I also would not be surprised if Metroid Prime 4 ended up being a
Launch title.
yeah, kind of like how Breath of the Wild was a goodbye and a hello for the Wii U to the Switch.
Even though they were like, yeah, we got the Wii U one, but don't buy it because we want you to buy a Switch.
I heard the Wii U version was actually pretty decent and ran well.
Well, I mean, they
but
designed it for
never-
that. I mean, that game
Right.
was in development forever.
Oh yeah, right.
So, yeah.
So I think that's kind of how Metroid Prime 4 will be as well.
Sure.
But they did announce a number of things. I think that the thing that no one was expecting that we saw was the new Legend of Zelda game, just out of nowhere. Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom.
Look cute. I love that style they do for some of these Zelda games.
I don't ever get excited about Zelda games, but I want to play this. It's a return to kind of the top-down style, the traditional Zelda style, using the engine that they created for the remake of Link's Awakening.
Yes.
Which is, depending on the day, it's either Link's Awakening or Zelda 2 is my favorite Zelda.
I like this. It's almost like clay plastic art style, if you want to call it shiny plastic. I kind of dig it. It's cute.
And I think the hook for this one looks like fun. And there are sometimes where like a hook in a Zelda game doesn't really grab me. But I like this one. I like the idea that she can copy objects and use them to get around.
Well, that's the big news. It's woke Zelda, according to some people. You control Zelda having to rescue a bunch of the Hyruleans that I guess there's like these weird pits that open up and they fall in, including, it's funny because like Link in like his dying act, spoiler, fires his arrow to save Zelda out of like, I guess she's entrapped like in this big jewel, and then she comes out and is like, well, I got to save everyone now.
Are people really calling this woke Zelda, or are you just making a mountain out of a molehill?
I'm not making a mountain molehill. I'm being facetious.
Oh, okay.
You think I'm being serious when I use the woke Zelda?
Well,
term?
I'm not saying you were being serious. I have not seen anyone complaining.
At this point,
I feel like someone might, but I haven't seen it.
Oh, there's ton. But at this point now, it's become a parody to even say it.
Sure.
So at this point, it's like probably 10% of people actually mean it, and 90% of people are just jokingly saying, "Oh, it's woke Zelda."
Right.
A woke Zelda game. So the interesting mechanic is that you can copy objects. So I guess you can counter an object like a desk or a rock or even the enemies, and you can carbon copy them to solve puzzles. So that's an interesting. So it's not like direct combat insofar as you have to figure out how to get around things and probably multiple ways to accomplish things. That's interesting. That's an interesting sort of mechanic.
I didn't see it completely devoid of combat, but
No, there is combat, but I'm saying it's like you're not just slashing things.
Right.
You're using your ability to copy things. Like I think they showed like she made a rock and threw it at an enemy.
Yeah, or she like copies a bed and uses it as a bridge, or she copies the tables and uses them to climb up a ledge.
Yeah, so you're changing the mechanic to, okay, we're not just doing direct combat, we're going to now do this. So it's very interesting because it introduces more natural puzzle aspects versus, just find an object to go here and to do something. Mm-hmm. So that's interesting. But I looking at the gameplay, and obviously Nintendo are masters of gameplay design. I'm not going to question them on that. But it looked like if you were constantly going back to your menu to look at the dozens of things you can possibly copy, I can picture that getting cumbersome, constantly going back to the menus if you need it a lot. So there has to be a solution to that in my head. Maybe like you can only copy a certain amount of things at a time, or only in certain areas you can copy certain things, so that like you're not constantly scrolling through like 50 things. That's the only thing in my head. I was like, that can get kind of weird if you have to constantly.
I'm going to assume they probably have some sort of like
a quick
select or a probably categories
or mapping them to certain buttons
or certain buttons. Yeah. My assumption is that they're probably showing you it that way simply to show you all the things that you can copy.
Because you saw in the menu, like you see the menu, there's like rows of things you could select. So I'm like, either way, it looks like a cute aesthetic. You basically, it looks like most of your combat's going to be using enemies to fight the other enemies.
It's going to be very cool. I like I said, it's the first time I've been excited for a Zelda game in Oh, I don't know.
30 years, 35 years since Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link.
Well, I liked Wind Waker.
You like Link to the Past?
No, not really.
Oh, okay. Controversial.
For no good reason other than the fact that I didn't grow up with it.
Okay. I borrowed it from Kevin.
So my Link to the Past was Link's Awakening, which is
Gotcha.
probably why I love Link's Awakening so much. I know Link to the Past is a great game. It's just not one I put the time into.
Yes.
Metroid Prime 4 finally showed stuff.
Yeah, we don't have to go through it again, but they originally announced this in like 2017. This game.
Yep.
It's been a long time coming. They rebooted it. It was a disaster. Apparently, when Nintendo has to come out and say this is fucked, we have to throw it all out. You know, it was fucked.
But I think it looks great, and it looks like Metroid Prime. So I really, I never played the second and third one, but I love the first Metroid Prime. It's an amazing game.
I'm on the fence whether or not they're going to hold it back to launch the Super Switch. I don't think they would have showed it in this direct if they were holding it back.
No, because that was the whole thing. There was nothing being shown on this direct that had to do with the next Switch. Like I said, I would not be surprised if they pull a Breath of the Wild with it, but I don't think it's only going to.
But they're going to push this as the last, probably potentially big Switch game. Like this will be like the last. This is it. This is the last. This is your last hurrah. And maybe on the obviously, I think the Super Switch, where we call it, is going to have upscaling technology. They patented, so maybe it'll be like
DLSS or whatever, or the
Nintendo's DLSS version that they're doing. So it'll be like, yeah, you can buy it, and then on the Super Switch. Now you want to get the Super Switch because now Metroid Prime 4, it'll be 120 frames instead of 30 or 60. It's going to be like they'll have extra bells and whistles with that. So that was cool. They showed more of the Nintendo World Championships NES edition, and now I'm less excited. I was hoping for something that would wet our whistles a bit more. We were a little disappointed in the reveal.
It still looks disappointing.
So now the biggest thing was, well, you can have ghost mode where like you do a ghost run against eight other players and they get eliminated. So those are other players that have played. You're not directly competing against them. So it's like that's kind of okay, sure. And that was really it. Like they didn't really show us any of the good stuff.
No,
they didn't really give us good examples of any of the challenges
because it's not going to be good. It's just
I'm not.
They can't make it look nice.
I was waiting for something. It's all speed runs.
It's a fart in the wind, man.
Yeah, the survival mode is the ghost mode thing. So it's like okay, all right. There's nothing that's like, yeah, I know.
Switch Sports adds hoops.
Yeah,
that might actually get me to open my copy of Switch Sports.
they have an NBA Jam, basically NBA Jam on Switch.
It was 2 on 2 with also what I will probably play the most of, just the 3-point contest. I just want to sit there and take 3-pointers
with the motion control. You can do it. Yeah,
looks like it'd be fun. Silly but fun. The Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection looks awesome.
7 games.
I think it's also kind of crazy that this isn't getting announced on, or this isn't getting released on Xbox. Yeah, Switch and PlayStation.
I think it would eventually have to come there. You'd think.
Maybe.
Or Capcom.
Why would it not be there at launch?
Well, why would they keep it off of the Xbox console at all? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, yeah, that's my point. That's the point.
I know.
That's the point.
I know. Okay, so what do you get? You get all of them, and so in order, God. So the first one ever was X-Men: Children of the Atom, which is what I converted my MAME cabinet in Jersey from an auction.
I think I have 2 copies of that at home. Like 2. I think I have 2 arcade boards of that.
Oh, so you have 2. And then it's Marvel War of the Gems was there. Then they did X-Men versus Street Fighter. Was it X-Men versus Street Fighter first, or God, I was confused. What
X-Men versus Street Fighter is the first of the verses.
First of the verses, and then the second verses was
Marvel. I think it's Marvel Verse. Or Marvel Superheroes. Shit, I can't remember.
No, Marvel Superheroes was
Children
before.
of the Atom is what starts
Yes.
it. Then it goes Marvel Superheroes.
Yes.
X-Men vs. Street Fighter is the first versus.
Yes.
Then it goes Marvel vs. Capcom.
Yes.
Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Yep.
And then the 7th game is totally fucking weird.
We missed a game, we missed a game in there, but all right.
Yeah, there is. There's one left.
It was 7, I thought.
There's one left. I haven't said it yet. It doesn't make any sense. It's the Punisher. It makes sense because it's Marvel, but it's beat 'em up.
Yeah, it's a great game.
It is fun. A good game. It's just a weird little thing to tack on because it's not a fighting game.
Most people that are buying this probably never played it in the arcade.
No, I'm not disagreeing with that. I just think it's odd it's an odd little...
I'll take more than less.
Odd little bonus.
I wish I got the rights to, again, never been released anywhere, The Sega Spider-Man beat 'em up, never been released. I think it's been re-released anywhere, which is fucking strange.
No, it's one of those weird
Anyway.
ones like Alien vs Predator, where the license and the original developer, it's just you're never gonna probably see it
Because
re-released.
even Simpsons Arcade got re-released eventually.
Yes.
You know, but that one is now in the nether realm.
Yeah, but Konami is kind of in that area where they'll just license anything out for money, and I'm sure the Simpsons were fine with it too.
Sure.
That seems like something that's easier to do.
Sure, that makes sense. Funko Fusion.
Looks
you know
like
what? I guess I've been wrong about when I thought the Funko craze would die down. I guess not, because you have a Funko Fusion adventure game.
I think that's kind of a gasp. I don't.
Doing this.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, there has to be a Funko Pop like website with the prices, and I want to see them just plummet because I don't understand how people can keep buying these things at this point.
We don't have it on our list, but real quick on the flip side of Funko Fusion, that Hello Kitty game looked adorable.
Thanks to Butters for conjuring that in the world.
What?
Hello Kitty Adventure Island.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And you know the World of Warcraft South Park episode from 20 years ago? Cartman goes to Butters. Don't you have a PC? He goes, yeah, but I'm always playing Hello Kitty Adventure Island or Island Adventure. And like literally that's the name of the game. Like he said it 20 years ago, Butters.
Yeah, no,
and they made a game out of it. That's what's amazing.
It actually looks like a lot of fun. I was expecting it to be an Animal Crossing ripoff, but it doesn't look like that at all. It looks like something else. So I'll play that.
Expansion pack game updates. They got a few new ones there. Game Boy Advance ones. 2 mature 17 plus games. You get Turok and Perfect Dark. Perfect Dark has multiplayer, obviously. It might be a 5-star game according to a future N64 guidebook. Super Mario Party Jamboree. I don't know a lot about that, but I guess they're adding more stuff.
It's more Mario Party.
Yeah, just more mini games to play.
More Mario Party. Yeah.
Tales of the Shire look cool to me because it's like this is Animal Crossing in the Shire, and it looked cute. And it's nice to have you can make meals, invite people. It looked very stress free. Did you see it? The Tales of the Shire?
Yeah,
it's stress free. You're hanging out as a hobbit, or just relaxing.
Well, that's how I feel about the Hello Kitty game. Like,
having a get time,
casual hangout.
And then Gandalf shows up every once in a while. You talk to Frodo. You can go to the pub and get a pint. That actually, when I watched it, I said that could be interesting just to relax. With that sort of game, I don't know. That sort of pulled me in more than an Animal Crossing would, because I love the Lord of the Rings movies. Right, they're great. And then I saw the Ace Attorney Investigations collection there.
And then lastly, I'll bring up real quick because I love the series. There's a new Denpa Men game coming out, which is a very weird 3DS download only series of games. They made 3 of them where you collect weird little creatures from radio waves and then use them to go through dungeons. And like I said, it was a fun series on the 3DS. They made 3 of them, and I figured that was going to be it. We'd never see these fucking guys ever again.
Oh.
And here we go. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be free to play. I hope it's not like super predatory. We'll see. But it's interesting to see such a weird niche game get brought back to life almost a full hardware generation later. So,
and we'd be remiss. There's always now an HD remake. There's 2. Donkey Kong Country Returns is getting a Switch remake, and then the other one is Luigi's Mansion 2.
That's been in the works, I believe.
But I guess now they're closer to coming out.
Okay.
There. So there you go. And I guess the last one will be I guess Star Fox Zero, probably the last one we get of that batch before there's a new console. That's what I'm going to guess.
I would fucking love to see a Star Fox Zero that removes the bullshit.
It has to. I mean, that's the only. They basically have remade all the rest of the Wii U stuff at this point.
Sometimes we talk about game disappointments, and that one always I don't think of it at the time, but I can't think of a game that I was more disappointed in than that fucking game.
When did that come out? Let me see what year that came out.
I don't know.
Because maybe
so bad.
Maybe they have an internal we can't remake it in a certain amount of time because it appears weird or bad to do that. That only came out 8 years ago, Star Fox Zero. So maybe now it's right for it's enough time to put into that.
It deserves a playable version.
Because when did Donkey Kong Country Returns come out? Now I'm interested to know what year that came out. That came out.
That's a 3DS game.
That was Wii, 3DS, Wii U. That was 2010. So that's 14.
Okay.
That's 14 years.
Right.
So maybe internally, Nintendo's like, yeah, we shouldn't milk the same folks. That's not right. I'm not saying they're acting like this, but I can picture Nintendo being the only company that would think about that versus Sony or Microsoft saying, now it's enough time has passed that we can, ethically put out a remake. There's been enough time in between. So maybe that's what happened. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They put out, well, it wasn't that much time in between the Super Mario All Stars remakes, but you got a bonus with that. At least you got the Super Mario. Did you know the original Super Mario Bros. 2? This is an interesting one. And I'm not sure how upset I'm going to get about this. This is more like the reality of the world. There's a Legend of Zelda Lego set they announced, the Great Deku Tree, 2-in-1. It's $300 for this set. And as a kid that grew up with Lego, I'm just disappointed that they couldn't figure out a way. Then again, Lego sets have skyrocketed in price over the years. Probably IPs attached has a lot to do with it. Just disappointed that something like this, if I was a kid, something like this would be great to get. My parents would never get me something this expensive as a kid for this amount of money, unless it was like a big Christmas present. I'm just disappointed that it costs this much for a set that doesn't look that it's not the biggest set in the world for that amount of money. And that's all. You probably say, well, Pat, that's the way it is now. Sure, I'm just sort of disappointed when I saw that. If it was like 150, I'd be like, all right, cool.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a smallish set for $300.
I think the problem is it's a 2,500 piece set, which is going to be very expensive, but the 2,500 pieces don't get you the size of a Lego set that you're expecting.
Yeah, like these aren't as big as the big castle and Robin Hood sets. The Robin Hood set I had that was a tree set was like 4 or 5 times the size of this thing as a kid.
It does look like it has, like when I look into it now, I mean, as I'm looking more into it, it does look like it does quite a bit. There's more to it. There really is some like playset stuff to it.
Sure, but I'm talking about the scale itself. This is like barely a medium sized sort of playset scale for that.
I don't know. I mean, when you look at it and you look at the little minifigs, I get what you're saying. I'm not upset.
What I'm saying is, as a kid,
Sure.
a set that was this much money would have been one of the biggest gigantic castle sets you can get, and this is pretty small in comparison. That's all. But it's cute.
Yeah, I like how it looks.
I mean, we would have went nuts if they had Lego Nintendo stuff as a kid. We would have went nuts. Nintendo was like anti-toy forever. They wanted you to buy the games. Mm-hmm. They licensed you little. Yeah,
there was no cheap way to just screw around and get the experience.
Like they left a lot of money on the table, but if you're Nintendo back then, you understand we want to sell it. We want to make sure you're playing with the games because that's how we make the most money. Yeah. I understand that. But nowadays it's like, well, now it's a culture. We want to sell you everything. Now it's Star Wars sort of thing there. And then gamehistory.org article about a lost Tarzan Atari prototype that was found.
Yep, we say it every time now, but we're kind of in this weird period where there's just this deluge of prototypes and things being found. It seems like we're always finding new and interesting things. I don't really know a lot about the story of the Tarzan game. I know it had to do with Coleco. And the Atari version was not being developed in-house by Coleco. And it was fun. And I mean, I don't have a whole lot more to say. I've never played Tarzan. I'm not interested in Tarzan. It's a cool find.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's neat.
I mean, we almost helped save one a few years ago until that greedy company decided just to auction off and sell on their website. But that's another conversation. That Mind one, remember that?
Oh yeah,
a few years ago. I did my best. I tried for one, and corporate America won on that one. Unfortunately, I don't think we ever heard of it anything after that.
But it does look kind of interesting. It's one of those multi-screen games that like they started making later, in the Atari's life. And I always thought the multi-screen games were interesting.
I just think it's funny because Pitfall has like the Tarzan yell in it. Mm-hmm. Well, an Atari version. So, and then obviously, Jungle King has like Tarzan type elements. So they're probably like, hey, let's actually put out a Tarzan game. We're getting semi ripped off in these other games with swinging on vines and stuff. And why not? And then it never comes out. You're too late to the party. Was it Edgar Rice Burroughs' estate? You're too late to the party on that. Anyway. Let's see, be published by Coleco for the 2600, then it was going to come to the ColecoVision console in '84. That was the plan. Then something called the crash happened too. So that, when's my ColecoVision Mini going to get made again? Anyway, Adobe's been in the news for bad reasons a couple times recently. So the first one is forcing you to opt in to their new terms of service for. I think it was mostly Photoshop, so like basically giving them rights to whatever you created, which was fucking weird and dystopian and probably used to like train their AI and shit.
Well, that's exactly what it was. And they said that, artists that were used in the AI were compensated and alerted. And there was just a billion tweets and blue sky posts of artists being like, yeah, then how come my image, like you can see my name right here in this image that you AI generated. And I did not consent to this. And there was just like, boom, 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 boom. And I think within 48 hours, Adobe had flip-flopped on it.
Not good.
It's dumb. And then also, Adobe has been making enemies for at least a couple of years now because depending on the plan that you have, there is actually a cancellation fee.
Oh, shit, really?
Yes. And they opt you into those plans.
Like automatically? Like click wrap
well, yes, basically you can change it, but that's like the default. And someone online the other day I was following it and they were like, yeah, I was tired of paying $20 a month. So I went to cancel it and they charged me $100.
Yeah, that doesn't sound, that's like a gym membership thing. That's disgusting.
It sounds like fucking extortion.
Well, yeah, that's like a gym member. You hear the horror stories trying to quit the gym. One time for me, it was really bad. One time it was actually pretty easy, but it was also pandemic related. But that's bad. And the worst part is like they don't sell this stuff off the shelf anymore. So you can't just go out and just say, I want to buy, Adobe Photoshop and just install it and have it.
Right.
No, it's all
same with Microsoft. It's all subscription now.
Yeah. Which is, for them, it's great for them because then it's anti-piracy. They can charge you forever. But it's like, this is the consequence. And now what? I got to opt out? So the U.S. government's suing them. The Justice Department. They allege that Adobe hid early cancellation fees and trapped consumers in pricey subscriptions. All right, cool. I'm going to get a class action lawsuit payout eventually.
Yeah.
I like getting those randomly for shit I never knew about.
Get ready for your 50-cent check.
Well, the Apple one was not bad. I told you about it a couple years ago from the App Store when Apple paid out, and then the Google Play Store paid out as well. They got sued for monopolistic stuff. Yeah. They alleged Adobe hid early cancellation fees and trapped consumers in pricey subscriptions. When customers do attempt to cancel, the DOJ alleges that Adobe requires them to go through an onerous and complicated cancellation process that involves navigating through multiple web pages and pop-ups. Come on, Adobe, really? And then allegedly ambushes customers with an early termination fee, which may discourage them from canceling. That's like getting out of getting out of a CD early, like a savings CD. They always, you got to pay the last 2 months,
right?
To try to trap you in the whole time. That's what this is worse. This is like 5 months. Really bad. You don't ever have to opt out at ultimatenintendo.com.
No, sir.
No early cancellation fee to get RBI baseball stickers, to get a certain SNES guidebook or a pre-ordered N64 guidebook. We have CU Podcast pins and enamels and a bunch of other good stuff at ultimatenintendo.com. Ian's on Twitch every Thursday. He's spinning.
I spun 3 times. I streamed 3 times last week.
Oh.
Yeah.
Going for the partnership.
No, I just wanted to play music 3 times last week. That's all. But yes, Thursdays for sure, and always around 4 p.m. PST.
And I'm around 4 p.m. PST every Wednesday. I've been doing it for 4 years now. Who that I know told me if I was streaming last week that should have known? Probably my sister. So yeah, I've been doing it for 4 years.
Jesus.
I say you should tune in sometime and watch your dear old brother stream the best 80s, 90s, 70s, sometimes 1960s commercials. We have a few rare 50s, but it's tougher to get commercials.
50s commercials.
There's blocks on there, believe it or not.
Wow.
They must tape off of a
lot of Ovaltine.
Some Ovaltine. A lot of Joe DiMaggio coffee commercials in there and stuff like that.
Or Vitamita Vegemin. Sorry, it's Vitamita Vegemin.
That might have been in one of them.
No, Vitamita Vegemin is an I Love Lucy skit.
Was a skit. Oh,
classic episode.
What else is going on? Evercade Alpha was announced. That plucky team across the pond, Evercade, has put out good products the past, 4 or 5 years at this point? 4 years?
My experience with their... So here's the thing with Evercade for me. It's not for me, but I think what they put out is pretty high quality stuff, and everyone seems to enjoy it. I had an Evercade for a while, and I enjoyed it. It was just... most of the games I was playing on it, I have other ways and other places, and I found it gathering, some dust. But it's cool, and I like the physical cartridge stuff. I really like how their other handheld, their newer version has like the tape mode for the shooter, so you can turn it vertically.
Yeah, let's remind the audience that Evercade is aftermarket games. There are usually retro game compilation carts about the size of, you want to say the size... a little bigger than a Game Gear cart. About the Game Gear cart size?
No, they're smaller. They're about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a little smaller than
About
Game Gear.
a Game Boy cart, but a little bit thicker.
Okay. And they've done, even newer games are on there as well.
They release indie
homebrews.
games, old classic arcade games, old classic console games.
They have Intellivision packs of games as well.
Yeah. So console, modern indie stuff, and then also arcade stuff.
Yeah, so they started with the the handheld first. They did a couple versions of the handheld. Then they did the console, and the same cartridge is interchangeable. This is why I like the ecosystem.
Yes,
it's because you're buying the cartridges, you can play them in different ways. So it's probably the most intelligent business model that we have probably seen for a retro game re-release console since we've been doing the podcast. Where it's like you're not trying to do too much. Reasonably priced. The
cartridges are $20.
$20 about for
I mean,
it scratches the collector itch for some people.
For some, and that's exactly it. For some people, it scratches the collector itch. They usually come with. I'm pretty sure they usually or always come with color manuals.
Yep.
So it's
we covered in the podcast.
It has a specific audience, and I think they treat that audience pretty well. So the Evercade Alpha. This one does not excite me as much. I did think the console made great sense. I loved the second edition of the handheld. This is neat, but I think it's more limited. The Evercade Alpha is basically, you've seen them. This one just takes Evercade carts. They're little mini stand-up arcades.
Yeah, about 14 inches high, whatever you want to say.
With 6 buttons and a joystick, and this will take the cartridges. This is a really cool idea, especially because for the past 2 years, I think, they've been releasing the arcade versions of games, not just console games. So there's going to be stuff on here that it's going to be fun to play that way. I want to know how it handles 2-player.
It's up to 2-player local.
So can you...
Okay.
My question is... can you link it, or does it let you hook up can you link these cabinets, or do you just get to hook up a controller to it? Because I think that's probably what it is you can hook in controllers to this unit. That'd be my guess.
Well, it says Wi-Fi, so...
okay, so wireless controllers maybe?
Or, I mean, just wireless connect two of them together. Maybe that...
Right, okay.
So, like, you have yours, I have mine, we play... one cartridge will play both, I guess. Or you both need both. I guess I don't see that on here yet. Evercade Alpha has 2 USB ports, meaning that you can play in an official Evercade Alpha Versus or VSR controller and play up to 2 players locally.
You could take those wired controllers from the console and hook them up.
Sure, that makes sense. Yeah. That would track. Mm-hmm. You can also use multiple third-party controllers and arcade sticks. Okay, so they're making it that you just connect. It's just a Bluetooth connection to it.
Yeah,
I was overthinking. It'd be cool if you connect 2 different arcades, but it sounds like no, you don't have to. You just all play. You have your controller. I have the stick, and the stick and 6 buttons are probably decent, like these usually are. You get swappable marquees. There's 2 different versions they are offering.
Oh, that's kind of cute.
So they're doing the Street Fighter one, which has 6 games. You get Champion Edition of Street Fighter. You get Turbo. You get Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo. I love those games. Street Fighter Alpha 1, 2, and 3. Then there's a Mega Man one that has Mega Man the Power Battle. That was the arcade one, right? The Power Fighters.
Battle and Fighters were both arcade.
You get Carrier Air Wing, Final Fight. There you go, Ian. Knights of the Round and Strider arcade. So that's
actually
cool.
That's kind of yeah. I mean, I like both those packs. I think it's pretty cool.
And the price is in dollars. 230 special pre-order prices, 230 regularly 250. So you're paying for the games partially, in that price. on top of the little unit, and they both accept the thing about the Evercades, which they accept two cartridges like the console does.
Yeah.
So from what I think there's something to that, having both in the same time. Obviously, you can switch easier. You can access both with that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there's anything unlockable with that or
I thought there was with something, but I could be wrong. I don't recall.
Like cute little Easter egg sort of stuff, maybe.
Yeah. Anyways, I think looking at this, I do think it's probably a pretty decent price, provided the quality is up to snuff. Because I think these bar top arcades often go for about $300. And
that much? Okay.
And Evercade's always been pretty good about keeping their prices reasonable. That was one of the things I liked about them initially.
What's the size? It's 410 millimeters. Let me do that. What is 410 millimeters in inches? Okay, I looked it up. My phone did not respond. Oh, you can swap out the marquees.
Yep.
So that's interesting.
16.14 inches.
Okay, I was off a little bit. I think I said 12 or 14.
You
so
said
16.
14.
Okay. So, okay, that's the standard one.
This is a standard bar top arcade.
Looked like the same size, like the Neo Geo one probably came out, was about the same size.
No, the Neo Geo one was very mini.
It was small?
Oh, the Neo Geo one's real tiny.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
I thought it was bigger than that. Okay.
Yeah. Bar top arcade is a very kind of at this
it's a
point,
standard?
a fairly specific form factor.
Neo Geo one was that tiny?
Yeah, the Neo Geo one was tiny.
How did they get away with charging that much for it?
Because that's what all the other small arcade machines have costed, like the Astro City and whatnot.
Oh, I see. Okay, well that's cool. Yeah, check it out once it hits here. You can pre-order it, and yeah, our friends at Evercade there. And we have a small update about the Intellivision Amico. Very small. I'm sorry. Not. Actually, I think they might be allowed to call it Intellivision Amico for the console. I don't know.
No, I really don't think they can. I'm pretty sure that was very clearly stated. They cannot call it the Intellivision Amico. Just like this new roadmap does not say Intellivision on it anyway.
Okay.
It just says Amico.
So on the Intellivision_Amico subreddit, news about the new roadmap dropped here. And one of the biggest takeaway, forget about the console ever being in development. That's never happening here. The last thing with the console was that pilot unit videos released May of last year. That's 13 months ago, if you're keeping track.
Yep, 13 months without an update on the console. And John Alvarado says that the roadmap removes the update forecasts because he can't really say anything. I will still try to share as much information as I can about what is upcoming, but there will be no forecasted dates attached. This is really the beginning of the end. There's just they have run out of runway. They tripped into dirty gravel, and now they're ready to go off a cliff and never be seen again. So the big thing that we all laughed at earlier in the year was the Amico controllers and how they were going to go into production this summer.
Yeah, they're going to come out end of the year.
Well, the Amico controller line on the roadmap has successful test on Amico Home Android in February of 24, and nothing. There's nothing listed for the future. There's nothing listed in the past. These were supposed to be out by Christmas. Guess what? They're not going to be out ever, but certainly not by Christmas.
Yeah.
The Amico Indie Dev program that no one wants to be a part of, because why would you waste your time on it? Says open beta starts in the future, but there's no...
Who would sign up for this?
Yeah.
Unless you're like a Tommy Tallarico or Amico fanboy. Like, who would sign up for that?
There is nothing anymore about iOS support. Well, it's just in the future, because Apple does not want to deal with this shit. I don't think Apple has any... I don't think they would get clearance for this necessarily.
We talked about the difficulty with that, with like connecting controllers to it.
Yes.
And with the program having to connect to other stuff. And Apple likes their stuff locked down on the iPhone because they don't want people to hack into some weird shit.
I think one of the simple but stupid things that would hang it up is the fact that they want any controller you hook up, any phone to be a controller. Yeah. And I bet Apple's like, no, only Apple phones can be controllers. But I don't know.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll see. I'm surprised. I guess.
I guess we'll see. We won't. We'll never find out because nothing's ever going to happen on this front. So, and then the last thing I would want to bring up here is the home games. Now, Rigid Force Redux and Finnegan Fox were on an old remap, I believe, slated for April. But that's when John Alvarado said something in the Discord, I believe, about how there were complications on the business end of things, but we're going to get that sorted out and we'll be releasing them soon.
The business end of things.
Then they got pushed to May and then June, and now it's just in the future. So here's what happened. And I mean, this is my guess. They thought they were going to get this code. Like everything else, they probably paid for something, whether a demo or this or that or the next thing. But I don't think they ever finalized payment. They never finalized payment. They never finished paying any of these people off for anything. And then something someone said on the Amico Reddit that I didn't think about was there was probably nothing in the contract for those games about being released on a service like this. They were probably very specifically contracted for release on a console, because now you get these weird complications where Rigid Force Redux is available on the Google App Store for $2, but then this would lead to another version of it being on the App Store through Amico Home for $15. So now you have all of these...
While also being on like Switch or whatever.
Right, so you've got all of these complications, and I think honestly, like I said, I wish I remember who said that, but I think that's honestly the most logical explanation is this was not what the contract was for, and Amico, whatever you want to call it, does not have the money to renegotiate this contract. And there's just no money for it. So I think there's a lot of reasons, but he keeps stringing people along, and I don't think those are ever coming out. I also don't think Evel Knievel or Backtalk Party are ever going to come out. But if all 4 of those games come out, they have nothing else. That's everything. That's everything that they have ever shown or talked about being in remotely completed state. There's just nothing else. And you're not going to make a ecosystem like this survive with 8 to 10 garbage fucking games that cost more than you would get them anywhere else. There's just nothing left for them to do.
Sure. I mean,
that's it.
No, you're right.
That's
it. You're done.
That's officially the end. They've run out of shit to stretch, sell, or yeah, done. I don't know. I lost my fucking train of thought there, but
no, I mean that's like you said that it's done.
The bucket is empty.
They don't have the Intellivision rights anymore, and there's nothing left. Speaking of nothing left, this is also on that Reddit. That remember that Almor furniture lending company that Tommy brilliantly got furniture leased that he didn't need for his huge space. That was also, I believe the CFO had that space and was renting it. It was all incestuous, the money going back and forth.
Oh yeah,
but he got sued because Tommy was the guarantor. He signed off that, hey, I'll guarantee this loan. Guess what? Tommy couldn't guarantee the money to pay them back, so they sued the furniture place they repoed all the furniture. They got all these like rollaway cabinets that were overpriced for like $500 each. These little you can sit on it. You can there's a top. It's like what are we doing here? Trying to impress people if investors are walking into your place. We're a real company. We have real. That's not how startups are supposed to function. It's supposed to be bootstrap yourself until you get fucking real funds and you put out a product. Start in your freaking garage. Anyway, so. The lawsuit's been dismissed.
Right. Which,
with prejudice.
Which basically, so this happened, I believe, within like a day or two after.
The date on the document is around the date that they announced the sale.
The sale. So
of the Intellivision IP going over to Atari.
Dismissal doesn't mean that Tommy got away scot-free. It just means that the case no longer needs to exist. So, but and Amor had them dead to rights on the contracting.
Yeah, Tommy was done.
So what I think it's easy to kind of connect some dots here and say that they used whatever. Or some of whatever that the Atari deal was to pay off that debt.
Pay off,
and they probably did not pay off the full amount. If it was settled, quarter of it, or you know,
Half.
whatever, half. But yeah, some money changed hands. That's why it disappeared.
Yeah. So there you go. So Tommy, you know, he doesn't pay for his. Well, it's not really. It's a civil crime. It's not. You know, it's not criminal. You know, but Tommy got away with it that time. It sounds like, but at least it didn't all go in his pocket. But we don't know how the terms of the deal.
No,
how that goes. But
just we can only.
But
speculate.
we can postulate that maybe some of the money went to the furniture place, so that you know they don't have to drag it out through court. I mean, what's the point of that? It's a waste of everyone's time. It's an open and shut case. So
here's just an interesting thing that was posted 5 hours ago, real quick though. Just since we're on it, posted by Paraclaw. In the Amico Discord, which is just getting weirder and weirder, John now forbids anyone from daydreaming about licensing deals. Discord is only for published products and roadmap games.
So you mean like back on the good old Atari age days where people would just throw out any name of a game, like, and then Tom would go, wouldn't that be something, with no intention of ever being able to get the rights?
I guess they were just talking about like Star Wars games, and like someone goes, a 2D action game where you fly ships and speeders on varied missions, like a simplified Rogue Squadron game, or maybe a pod racing game or something. And John's like, we've not announced any deal with Lucasfilms Games or licensing Star Wars for Amico. Please keep the conversation here focused on existing published products or upcoming games from the roadmap. And I will not give Alvarado credit. I'm not for anything.
You might be annoyed,
but this is something that should have been reined in 5 fucking years ago.
Tommy even got sick of one of the people on Atari's one time. Remember, there was one person where Tommy got sort of like sick of this person just shitting out tons of any random idea.
I remember when that dude. I almost thought that
was
guy
a troll.
Thought he was a troll, but he wasn't. But the one that broke Tommy on that was when he suggested an Amico version of the Zaxxon board game.
Are you serious? That has to be a troll.
It was the
Zaxxon the board game.
The Zaxxon board, and it was the dude who just always spouted out
50 times a day.
Intellivision Master or whatever his name was. Yeah, just constantly announcing stupid shit.
Would have been a good troll.
Because someone was like, "Oh yeah, Zaxxon for the Amico would be great," and then he chimed in. He was like, "What about the Zaxxon board game? Since we're going for like a family-friendly board game." It was just, yeah.
And then I'd say just get the board game.
By the way, those games are never any good. Licensed board games are always.
I like the Popeye one.
Really?
Yeah, it's fun with the hearts.
Actually, I liked the Jurassic Park board game when I was a kid. Some of them can be, but most licensed board games are garbage.
I have a Puyon one, which I got. I never saw it before. I told you that with the piggies, the Konami game.
I think that's actually pretty cool.
What a strange board game, because that was never like a really popular game. It was a fine arcade game.
It's a really good arcade game, but yeah.
You got to shoot the little piglets down, with the bow and arrow thing. Like that's a fine game, but I was shocked when I found that they had a board game for that.
Yeah.
That's like the 180th arcade game you think of. We're talking about classic arcade games. That's so far down the list of ones there. Well, this is a fun intro. If you want to hear us talk about Ian's trip on the Star Wars ride at Disney, the Resistance ride,
the Rise of the Resistance,
you can go to patreon.com/CU podcast, and you can hear all about us talk about Star Wars and Disney and building your own lightsaber, and the fact that awful Star Wars Galaxy Hotel thing is shutting down in September. It's a good time.
It's a good time. Great times.